ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अखण्डं सच्चिदानन्दम् अवाङ्मनसगोचरम् आत्मानमखिलाधारम् आश्रये भीष्टसिद्धये अर्थतोऽप्यद्वयानन्दान् अतीतद्वैतभानतः गुरूणाराध्य वेदान्त सारं वक्ष्ये यथामति। You can start one pen so that there is circulation. In this text, there are 6 chapters, or we make it 5 chapters. The first chapter is starting with Dhyana Shlokas, where the prayers are offered to the Lord and the Guru to invoke the grace of Ishvara and Guru, and also to express one's gratitude to the Guru. Having done that, this Vedanta was defined as Upanishad Pramanam. Vedanta is Upanishad which is in the form of Shabda Pramanam. And by extension, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra are included in Vedanta. And having clarified about what Vedanta is, the author has entered into the topic of Anubandha Chatushtaya. Firstly, he clarified that this Vedanta Sara is a prakarana, is an expository text for Vedanta. Therefore, it does not have independent, different Anubandha Chatushtaya, introductory points called Anubandha Chatushtaya. And therefore, it should not be separately mentioned. But somebody may have questioned what is the Anubandha Chatushtaya of Vedanta which is to be extended to Vedanta Sara. For that he gave the descriptive definition of Anubandha, saying Adhikari Vishaya Sambandha Prayojana is Anubandha. The introductory points are in the form of Adhikari, qualified person who will be benefited from the study of Vedanta. Vishaya, the subject matter. Sambandha, the connection between the text and the subject matter. Prayojana, the purpose. And now he is going into the details of this Anubandha by talking about each one of them. And he picked up the first one, Adhikari. Who is Adhikari? One who has general idea about the content of the Vedas. Means he is exposed to Vedic culture. He has got some idea about the approach of Vedas. What is the subject matter of Vedas? Subject matter of Vedas is Purushartha and the means for Purushartha. And what type of means? The means which cannot be figured out by human beings independently. That is the subject matter of Vedas. That clarity he has. Then the second thing is he has got the purity of the mind. And how did he get it? The purity get by Nitya Naimittika Prayaschitta Upasana and the avoidance of Kamya and Nishiddha. And this can happen Janmani, Asmin Janmani, in this Janma, or Janmantareva, or in other life. We have to say this because there are some spiritual genius who do not have done this karma, who have not done the karmas in this life, still they have purity and they are getting knowledge. So to include their qualification, to justify that situation, to explain that situation, we make this clause, Asmin Janmani Janmantareva Anushtanena. Anushtanena goes, Janmantareva goes with Anushtanena. By the performance of Nitya Naimittika Prayaschitta Upasana in this life or in other life. By that what happens? Kalmasha, the impurity is gone. And thereby what? Nitanta Nirmala Swantaha. His mind, Swantaha means the mind, is Nirmala. Nitanta means completely, intensely, deeply. And thereby he has become Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. He is endowed with the fourfold qualifications. And here one more qualification is also implied, which is included in Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna, but we can mention is that he has got Chitta Sthairyam. So Nitanta Nirmala Swantaha and Nitanta Shanta Swantaha. So one whose mind is also calm. And it is not separately mentioned. One reason is that when purity of the mind is there, generally the calmness of the mind comes. And also in Sadhana Chatushtaya, this Samadhanam indicates that. Samadhanam and Shama will indicate that, and therefore separately not mentioned. But to show the result of Upasana, we can separately suggest that Nitanta Shanta Swantaha is Nitanta Nirmala Swantaha. His mind is purified, means free from Ragadvesha, free from Durita, and also free from disturbance. So Chitta Shuddhi is there and Chitta Sthairyam is there. Afterwards he is going to talk about that. So Chitta Shuddhi Karmana, Chitta Naishalyam or Chitta Sthairyam Upasanena. So by karma he has attained Chitta Shuddhi, by Upasana he has attained Chitta Naishalyam. And such a person is Adhikari. Then Kamya Karma was explained, Nishiddha was explained, Nitya, Naimittika, Prayaschitta, Upasana. And then Nitya Karma, what is the place? What is the role? That was said, Buddhi Shuddhi is Param Prayojanam. Upasana Namtu Chittaikagram Param Prayojanam. And for that Shruti Vakyas were quoted. Smriti Vakya was quoted. And then incidentally the Avantara Phala, the incidental result, secondary result of Nitya Naimittika Karma and Upasana was mentioned in the form of higher Loka Praptihi. And for that the Vakya was quoted from Brihadaranyaka. Are you able to hear? Karmana Pitrulokaha Vidyaya Devalokaha. This pens are there, no? So this Shruti Vakya was quoted to show the Avantara Phala of Nitya Naimittika Karma and Upasana. Karmana Pitrulokaha Vidyaya Devalokaha. Then the next word Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna is being explained. Sadhanani means the means. Here the means in the form of preparatory means, the qualifying qualities, qualifying attributes. And what are they? Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, Iha Mutrartha Phala Bhoga Viraga, Shamadri Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutva. Then Viveka was explained that Brahma alone is Nitya, everything else is Anitya. Vairagyam was explained, saying that based on Viveka, person becomes free from the passion towards the objects of this world and objects of the other world. And what is the Viveka? That being Karma Phala, this Ehika Phalam is Anityam. Similarly, Paralaukika Karma Phalam will be Anityam. And therefore, I am not interested because I am seeking Nityam. I am seeking Nitya Sukham, which cannot be given by this, and therefore Vairagyam. Then Shamadayaha, the third qualification. The group of 6 qualities makes the third qualification. And Shamaha Tavat Shravanadi Vyatirikta Vishebhyaha Manasaha Nigrahaha. Nigrahaha means what? Akarshanam, pulling out the mind. From what? Vishebhyaha, from the objects, from the fields. Vyatirikta, different from Shravanadi. So, withdrawing the mind, curbing the mind from all the objects, all the fields which are different from Shravanadi. And this specification was done, Shravanadi Vyatirikta, to show that Shama is not stopping the mind. Cessation of the mental activities completely, that is not Shama. So mind is to be used, but it is to be used in the field which is conducive to the pursuit of knowledge and freedom. Therefore it was said, Shravanadi Vyatirikta Vishebhyaha Manasaha Nigrahaha. Alright. Then up to this we had seen. Now Damaha. Damaha Bahyendriyanam Tad Vyatirikta Vishebhyaha Nivartanam. So Damaha is what? Nivartanam is a withdrawal. Withdrawal from what? Vishaya, the objects. What type of objects? Tad Vyatirikta. Tad refers to Shravanadi. Withdrawal of Bahyendriyanam, the external organs, Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. So withdrawal of the external organs from the Vishaya, the objects or the fields, Vyatirikta, other than Tat refers to Shravanadi. So withdrawal of the external organs from the objects or the fields other than Shravanadi. Means our eyes, ears, etc. are to be used. But they are to be used only in the field of Shravanadi. For Shravanam, our ears are to be used. For reading the book, eyes are to be used. And to ask the question, our organ of speech is to be used. To go to the class, our legs are to be used. To hold the book, sometimes hands are to be used. So, all these external organs are to be used. But they are to be withdrawn from all other fields which are not connected with Shravanadi directly or indirectly. Sometimes indirectly. We have to eat, and for eating we have to go to the dining hall. So for that Karmendriya is to be used, because eating is indirectly contributing to Shravana. So whatever is contributing to Shravanadi, that is to be done, and for doing that Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas are to be used. But Nivartanam, withdrawal of them from anything which is directly or indirectly not connected to Shravanam. In fact, sometimes they are opposite. So, opposite to Shravanadi pursuit. From such objects, Nivartanam, withdrawing, is called Dhamma. So, really speaking, Dhamma is the capacity of the mind only. Is a discretion of the mind with regard to the operation of the sense organs and organs of action. Similarly, Shama also is what? Shama also is the discretion of the mind with regard to the operation of the mind. Alright. So, Shamaha was explained, Dhammaha explained. Mastery over the sense organs. Dhammaha is mastery. Mastery is in the form of capacity to withdraw the organs from anything which is not connected to Shravanadi. Alright, that is Dhammaha. Alright. Then Uparatihi is explained. Nivartitanam etesham tadvyatirikta vishayebhyah uparamanam uparatihi athava vihitanam karmanam vidhina parityagah. The next one is Uparatihi. Uparati also is withdrawal, is a withdrawal of the organs, external and internal organs. But still there is a slight difference between Shamadhamadi and Uparati. It is something like a child, 5-year child or this boy or girl. So we have taken the child away from certain field which is harmful. Child is going to something which is harmful for the child. Some fire is there or some thorns are there and child is going there. So what is done by mother? Child is taken away from that particular field. Bringing the child away from that harmful field, that is like Shamadama. That is Shamaha. And it, with reference to the organs, it is Dhammaha. So Shamadama are like bringing the child away from the activities which are not conducive for the child. Then second operation is what? Maintaining that condition. In fact, that is more difficult. Because Shamadama is what? You just bring. But afterwards, that particular state of withdrawal is to be maintained. So, maintaining the state of withdrawal of the mind and the sense organs is called Uparatihi. And that is how there is a difference between Shamadama and Uparati. And Shama is focusing on the internal organ, Antahkaranam. Dhamma is focusing on the external organ, whereas Uparati includes both. So, maintenance of the state of withdrawal of the mind and the sense organs and the organs of action is called Uparati. So, it is a status quo, the maintenance of status quo. Like on the border, they have got the state of control. So, state of actual control. So, they have to maintain both sides. This country should not encroach in others' land, other country should not come to this country. So, that is called this state of this control, state of status quo, maintaining the status quo. That is called Uparati. And that is first definition of Uparamanam, Uparati. Okay. निवर्तितानाम एतेषाम तद्व्यतिरिक्त विषयेभ्यः उपरमणम. Uparamanam is keeping withdrawn. Keeping whom withdrawn? Etesham, these. And this refers to antarbahyendrayanam. Keeping the internal organs called the antakaranam or the mind, and external organs called organs of action and organs of perception. So etesham refers to both mind and these indriyas. Uparamanam, keeping them withdrawn. Keeping etesham uparam, keeping these organs outside and inside withdrawn. So etesham is mind and the organs. What type of organs? Nivartitanam, which have been withdrawn, restrained. So keeping external and internal organs withdrawn, which are already withdrawn. So keeping withdrawn as withdrawn is called uparamanam. So nivartitanam etesham bahyantarendriyanam uparamanam is called uparatihi. And from where they are to be restrained, withdrawn? Tadvyatirikta vishayebhyah, from the objects or the fields other than Shravanam. Tad refers to Shravanadi. So keeping or maintaining these organs outside and inside withdrawn from the objects other than Shravanadi is uparamanam. So keeping withdrawn organs withdrawn from the fields other than Shravanadi is called uparamanam, is called uparatihi. So uparamanam is keeping them withdrawn. Maintaining this withdrawal, that is uparamanam. And that uparamanam is uparatihi. Both are derived from same uparamanam, uparatihi. Alright, so uparamanam is uparatihi. And this is one definition of uparati. Second is, I think that uparati has got different derivation, perhaps. I will check. Uparanj dhatu might be that. But both uparamanam and uparati have got the same meaning. Rati? Sriram tin and makara drop will happen. So same dhatu. So uparamanam, uparatihi. Now second definition. And why second definition is to be given? Here Tikakara says that there seems to be a little bit mix-up between this uparati and shamadama. Shamadama also are in the form of withdrawal of the organs. And uparati also is this withdrawal of the organs. So in terms of withdrawal, both of them, three of them appear to be intermixed. There is a difference, but we have to go so much into details to show the difference. Otherwise they look the same, because both of them are nirodhatmakaha. Bahi pravrutendriya vyapara nirodhatmakatva lakshanarthasya tulyatvat. Both of them have got similarity in terms of withdrawing the activities of the organs. And therefore, to avoid this possible confusion, another definition of uparati is given, which is also quite popular, which is not given in this Tattva Bodha. The uparati in Tattva Bodha, what is the definition? Swadharma Anushthanam. So performance of one's duty. There we highlight eva. means swadharmanushthanam eva means what? Anyat karmanah or anya karmanah tyagah. So that is how we bring the idea. But here Uparati is clearly defined as sanyasaha, renunciation. That is the second definition. Athava or vihitanam karmanam vidhina parityagaha. So karmanam parityagaha, renunciation of actions. What type of actions? Vihitanam. Vihitanam is what? Avashya kartavyataya choditanam. The karmas which are prescribed in the Shastra as necessarily to be done. That is called Vihitanam. So renunciation of karmas which are prescribed in the Shastra as to be done. Like what? Sandhya Vandanadini. We have seen Nitya Naimittika karma. So the Nitya Naimittika karmas are called here Vihita karmas. And Tesham Tyagaha. So renunciation of actions which are prescribed in the Shastra as to be done. Now the question would be, how can you renounce the karma which are prescribed by the Shastra to be done? Therefore one word is used to answer that possible doubt. Vidhina. Vidhina means as per the injunction of Shastra, as per the instruction given by the Shastra. Achha. And what is the instruction? The instruction is that until you get vairagyam, you need to continue doing your Vihita karma. Continue doing Sandhya Vandanam, Agnihotra, depending upon your ashrama. Continue doing Vihita karma. You are supposed to do it. But when Vairagya comes and Jignasa comes, then you have this particular option available. And what is that option? You can renounce even Vihita karma. But you cannot just renounce that so far till yesterday you were doing and today you stopped doing. Oh, now onwards I want to study Vedanta, I stopped doing. That is not a traditional approach. You cannot simply give up. Nowadays this question doesn't arise. Why? People don't do karma. If they do karma, they have to renounce. People, I always surprise them, why they are taking sannyasa? Already they are sannyasi only. They are not doing karma. Where is the question of sannyasi? But we are talking about traditional approach. Traditional approach is that they were doing karma and they were taking lot of his time and mind and energy, resources. And they can be given up if a person has this necessary vairagya. Yad ahaha virajet, tad ahaha pravrajet. So when the day when you get vairagyam, you can take sannyasa. This is called vidhina. Means following the proper procedure of renouncing. So sannyasa vidhi is there. Like if a person is working in army, he cannot say from tomorrow I will not come. He cannot do like that. He has to send the resignation. His resignation has to be passed. Then only he is relieved from the duty. He cannot simply say, I don't want your money, I will not come from tomorrow. That's not that. There is a due procedure. Even for big position, some small position people run away, stop and they will stop. It's okay, it happens sometimes. That also is procedure is to be followed. But sometimes people may do and government doesn't bother because there is a lot of unemployment, so it is good one person left. But generally, that especially in the army and all, the procedure is to be followed. So even for withdrawal from your duty, there is a procedure. So similarly, Shastra says, if you want to withdraw, you are qualified and you want to withdraw from this Vihita Karma, you have to give resignation. There is a procedure for resignation, and that is called Sannyasa Vidhi. So Vidhina means Sannyasa Vidhina. Following the instruction of Sannyasa, Parityagaha, renunciation of karma. So renunciation of prescribed action following a particular instruction of renunciation is called Uparatihi. So Vidhina means through procedure, through instruction of sannyasa. So Vidhina Parityagaha is Uparatihi, is sannyasa. And that sannyasa is called Uparatihi. Alright. And that sannyasa is useful. If a person is mature, has got vairagyam, jignasa, then sannyasa is very useful. Bhashyakara in his Bhashyam, he emphasizes sannyasa. Because sannyasa gives the person opportunity to exclusively commit to this pursuit. Makes his lifestyle conducive to the pursuit. Therefore, sannyasa also is one of the qualifications. Alright. So now we have seen Shama, Dama and Uparamanam. Now next one is Titiksha. Titiksha, Shitoshnadi Dvandva Sahishnuta. Titiksha, forbearance, accommodation. And what is that? Sahishnuta, the capacity to bear, the capacity to accept, accommodate. What? Dvandva. Dvandva means pairs of opposite. Like what? Shitoshnadi, cold, heat, hot, etc. So Sahishnuta, capacity of accepting, accommodating without reaction the pairs of opposite such as cold, heat, etc. or cold, hot situations. And Adi means what? Mana, Apamana. That is bigger one. Cold and heat somehow we can manage. But Mana, Apamana is creating lot of reaction. So Shitoshnadi Dvandva Sahishnuta. Pairs of opposite are bound to come in our prarabdha, in our life because of prarabdha. We cannot avoid. Nobody can avoid the pairs of opposite. There will be always variation. In external situation there cannot be uniformity. Our prarabdha is not like that. Our prarabdha is a mishra prarabdha. Therefore some conducive will be there, some non-conducive also will be there. Even if you don't want, comforts will come. And even if you don't want, discomfort will come. So, just as on comfort you don't have control, on discomfort also you don't have control. It will come. How you handle, it depends upon your discretion, it depends upon your free will. But they will come, they are bound to come. See, like now is the rain, what control we have? It is there. So instead of complaining that see when we are studying that time only started. See 11:30 only started. Not before, not after. And maybe 12:30 will be over also. So we don't have control over that. And that Sahishnuta. Sahishnuta means the capacity, the Sahishnu is the one who is putting up with, the one who is accommodating, that person is called Sahishnu. And Ta is the quality, the status. The capacity of being the one who accepts without reaction. That is called Titiksha. In Viveka Chudamani, that definition is given. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. That is called titiksha. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam. So putting up with, accepting all the dukkhas. Apratikara purvakam, without resistance. What is the resistance? Why me? That is resistance. Why it happens to me? Every now and then it comes to me. That is pratikara. Apratikara purvakam. And chinta vilaparhitam, without worries. Oh, if it continues forever, what will happen? Crying that my life is like this, all the time I only get trouble. So that is vilapana. Chinta vilaparahitam sahanam. Accepting or going through the situation without worries, without crying, without any resistance is called titiksha. And here dukkhanam is written because our problem is more with the dukkha. People have resistance to dukkha. Nobody complains, oh Bhagavan, why you are making me so happy nowadays? Nobody complains. Nobody goes to Bhagavan and says, nowadays Bhagavan, I think something has happened to you. All the time I am happy. Why it has happened? In fact, if somebody does that, people will think he is crazy. If you tell someone, today I went and complained to Bhagavan, that Bhagavan, why are you making me so happy every day? It is injustice. Nobody says like this. Even if you say like this to someone, people think you are crazy. Therefore, people have complained about the dukkha, therefore, sahanam sarva dukkhanam. But we need to include this sukha also. Because in sukha there can be some elation. And hrishtaha drupyati druptaha dharmam atikramati. We have seen that hrishtaha, one who is elated, is drupyati, becomes arrogant. And arrogant, druptaha dharmam atikramati. When you become arrogant, then you violate dharma. That is it happens when election result comes, so this happens. We can see this. So when some party wins, and they will have procession. And when they have procession, now they are so elated. So when they are passing by the office of the other party, they will throw stones there. Druptaha dharmam atikramati. They are rishtaha, they are elated, and druptaha. See, we have won. You cannot win. We have won. And druptaha dharmam atikramati. That's what happens. Therefore, even with reference to the comforts or favorable situation, one needs to have balanced approach. And therefore, we have this dvandva sahishnutvam. The pairs of opposite are to be accepted without getting elated or depressed. That is titiksha. And that is important for sadhaka because if this titiksha is not there, then person's life will be wasted on fighting. All the time fighting with the world. He did like this, she did like this, he did not do this, she did not do this. So all the time fighting, resisting. So today mood is out. Why? Oh, somebody in the morning he did not tell me, or he told me like this. My whole day is gone. So most of the days are like this only. It is something like in the hilly area, the rain is like almost every day. It will happen. So morning it will be very cold, and then some light sunlight is there, and then evening it will be raining. So similarly, this person will have all the day raining rays, something or the other. So raining will mean tears will be there. All this, and therefore titiksha is a very important qualification, where a person is objective, non-reactive. This is how the life is. We expect the setup to be perfect. That is the issue. We want everybody around us very perfect. My servant should be perfect. I always tell that if your servant is perfect like you, why should he be your servant? Simple thing. Servant will be like that only. Then only they are there. That you expect the Swamiji, I am so sincere, but my servants are not sincere. That's why you are you, they are there. So we bring objectivity and accept the diksha. Alright. Then samadhi. निगृहीतस्य मनसः श्रवणादौ तदनुगुणविषये च समाधिः समाधानम्. So now the next quality is samadhanam, concentration. What is that concentration? Samadhihi, focusing of what? Manasaha, of the mind. Focusing of the mind. What type of mind? Nigrihitasya, which is already mastered. So nigrihitasya means what? Shama dama uparati yuktasya. So the mind which is nigrihita, mastered. Samadhihi, focusing. The focusing capacity of the mind which is mastered, withdrawn, is called samadhanam. Is called concentration. Acha. Then concentration on what? He says shravanadau. The focusing ability, the ability of focusing on shravana, manana, nididhyasana. Means a person, when he does shravanam, his mind is available to focus on the subject matter which is being taught in the class. Similarly, he is doing mananam, mind is available, mind is focusing on the subject matter of mananam. Nowadays people have a lot of distraction. The computer is there, some message will come or something will pop up. The mobile is there and some other device are there. So something or the other, all are on. And therefore what? The capacity to focus is reduced. In general, people's span of attention span is very much reduced. Even children, we see that capacity is reduced. So here it is says shravanadau nigrihitasya manasaha samadhihi. Samadhi means focusing or ability of focusing on shravana, etc. Mind is available. And not only shravanadi, tadanuguna vishayecha. So ability of focusing on shravana and the vishaya, the object or the field which is conducive to shravanadi. Tadanuguna, anuguna means conducive. Means what? For shravanam to go without obstacle, we require to do japa, prayers. So for that prayer also mind should be available. Therefore tadanuguna vishaye. So ability of focusing on listening, etc. and any field which is conducive to shravanadi. So some people say, no Swamiji, only class my mind is okay, but japa it is not okay. Or when doing the seva which is required for shravanam to be effective, in that Swamiji my mind doesn't remain. Only for my shravanam it is remaining. That's not correct. Tadanuguna vishayecha. Whatever is conducive, required for shravanam to be effective, in that also mind is able to focus. So that's why it is shravanado tadanuguna vishayecha nigrihitasya manasaha samadhi. The ability of focusing of the restrained mind, mastered mind on shravana, listening, etc. and the field which is conducive to listening, etc. That is called samadhanam, for which alone the upasana is prescribed in Shastra. And of course, more the mind becomes this ragadvesha rahita, the more it is capable of focusing. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked, Chanchalami manah Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayori vasudushkaram. So that time Bhagavan Shri Krishna, what is the answer? Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So there is a connection between vairagya and samadhi. Samadhi here means concentration, focusing. A person who has got more ragadveshas, he will have more difficulty in focusing, because ragadvesha will distract the person, and therefore this nigrihitasya manasaha, the mind which is purified, mastered and purified, that mind will have focusing. Alright. So Shravanadau tadanuguna vishecha samadhihi is samadhanam. So for samadhanam, upasana is useful, and indirectly karma yoga is useful. Alright. And even ashtanga yoga is useful for samadhanam. So yama niyama asana pranayama are prescribed for samadhanam. Alright. Now the next one. Guru padishta vedanta vakyeshu vishvasah shraddha.
Guru padishta vedanta vakyeshu vishvasah shraddha.
What is shraddha? Vishvasaha, trust. Trust in vakyeshu, in the sentences of Vedanta. Trust means sense of validity in the sentences of Vedanta which are upadishta, taught by Guru, the teacher. Trust in the sentences of Vedanta taught by the teacher. So here both are included, Guru and Vedanta, Shastra. That is why in Tattva Bodha the definition is what? Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishvasaha Shraddha. So Shraddha in the Guru Vakya and Vedanta Vakya. So here it is connected. The trust in the sentences of Vedantas taught by Guru. Because Guru is Guru in true sense when he is teaching Vedanta or based on Vedanta. Guru will not have his own philosophy. But sometimes what Guru says may not be directly written in Vedanta. He is talking based on Vedanta, based on the Parampara's teaching, and therefore there is Shraddha in the Guru Vakya as well. But Guru is really Guru when he is teaching Vedanta Vakya. Therefore here it is said that Vishvasa in the Vedanta Vakya which is Upadishta by Guru. So Shishya needs to have Shraddha in Vedanta Vakya, and Shishya needs to have Shraddha that Guru is teaching Vedanta Vakya. What Guru says is Vedanta Vakya, directly or indirectly mentioned. And thus Shraddha, Vishvasa is called Shraddha. So, what is Vishvasa? Puji Swamiji used to say Pramanya Buddhi, sense of validity in Vedanta Vakya. That Vedanta Vakyas are Pramanam. That type of sense of validity. Vedanta Vakyas are Pramanam. That type of attitude towards Vedanta Vakya which are revealed by Gurus, that is called Shraddha. Vishvasa, which is Shraddha. And in olden days, the difficulty was less. It is not that it was not there. In olden days also people will have their distrust and all. But in olden days what used to happen, that people were brought up in Vedic culture. And respect for Vedas was a common feature in the culture. In fact, we have an expression in India, is it a Veda Vakya or what? See, the statement is what? What he said, if this person is saying like this, so we have to do this. Then this other person will ask, is it a Veda Vakya or what? Means what? If it is Veda Vakya, it would be acceptable. So, whether it is a Veda Vakya or not, that can be the doubt. But if it is a Veda Vakya, it is acceptable. So, Veda Vakyas are valid. That idea was so prevalent that a person grows up with this thinking. And therefore what happens? When he comes to Vedanta, already he has got this orientation. And therefore it will be relatively easy for the person to have Shraddha in Vedanta. It is something like a calculator, You have tried some simple 32 multiplied by 3, you check 32 multiplied 96, and it is 96. 25 multiplied by 5, 125, correct. So you have checked it and you say, it is worked. And therefore if some very big 1,92,755 multiplied by 95, it is difficult. So, but now you trust. Similarly, Karma Kanda part of the Vedas, person had adopted and he has been benefited. That yes, if he leads the life as prescribed in Karma Kanda, there is happiness, there is harmony in life. So he has trust. It's like a particular doctor you have tried. So for one small disease you went and it worked. Now some big disease comes, you go to the doctor because you have trust. So similarly, Veda Purva Bhaga, person has trust, and therefore when he comes to Vedanta, it is like going to the same doctor. And therefore what? He will have Shraddha. Nowadays people don't have exposure to that Vedic culture in the childhood, in earlier days. And therefore they have to develop Shraddha. And Pujya Swamiji says, the difficulty is because this Vedanta Pramana is coming from outside. Otherwise, trust in Pramanam is not something new to us. See, we trust our eyes, we trust our ears. But with reference to Vedanta, what is happening? It is coming from outside. And it has to come from outside. And therefore what happens? We have a doubt. And therefore this Shraddha is difficult. People study Vedanta for so many years, but still they don't have real heart of the heart. Shraddha is not there. Sometimes what happens, they are teaching and therefore they have to tell others, so they have borrowed Shraddha, reflected Shraddha. Since they are talking to others, they are supposed to have Shraddha. They think, we should have Shraddha. But we should have Shraddha is different from we have Shraddha. And that I think I have seen the modern generation, these Vedanta students, that one of the issues is Shraddha. In fact, sometimes they are struggling with the grammar and the chanting and all this, so they don't know that this is the problem. But when those issues are relatively resolved, then this really comes up. And because of this not having this sense of validity, this Vedanta doesn't deliver the goods. That is sin. And one factor, one is that not having this Vedic upbringing. Second reason is some durita is there. Some durita also can become the cause for obstructing our Shraddha. That is why we have prayers in Samhita Dhanam, Shraddham Dehi. And without Shraddha, you cannot really proceed effectively. You may complete the course, you may complete the Upanishads, but this sense of validity doesn't come. And when we are listening to the classes, what happens? That things look very logical, And therefore we say, Swamiji, everything clear. But if person does little more thinking, he will find that the subject matter of Vedanta is not really logical. Not logical. You are Brahman is not logical. It is not illogical. But it is not logical. What is logical? That which can be proved by logic is called logical. It cannot be proved by logic. Yes, it is not illogical. What is illogical? That which can be dismissed by logic is illogical. So, we are giving some supporting argument to dismiss the idea of Vedanta teaching being illogical. People think that is the what is called way of proving Vedanta to be logical. Vedanta is not logical in a strict sense of the term. And therefore, my Pramanya Buddhi, which is called Shraddha, plays an important role in the beginning and later on. And sometimes, people are so busy with studying this Vedanta in the course, and therefore what happens, that Shraddha issue is like suppressed. But after that it comes up. The question comes, really? Am I convinced that I am Brahman? Am I convinced that I am ever free? Or it is a nice theory, nice hypothesis. In science language they call it hypothesis. Before it becomes theory, it is hypothesis. So it is a very good hypothesis. But it doesn't have the status of theory for the person. Anyway, therefore Shraddha is important, and one of the important factors for getting Shraddha is these prayers. So we pray to Bhagavan to have Shraddha. Because Shraddha is not something which can be forced. Dhamma we can say, okay, I will have Dhamma, I will not do this. To some extent it can be forced. But Shraddha cannot be forced on the person. Like love cannot be forced. In France, one king was there, everybody used to be afraid of him. And therefore what used to happen, when he goes, travels on the road from some place to his palace, all people will keep themselves indoor. Closed door, they will remain, everybody will go away. Because people were afraid. And the king used to think, I am Raja, everybody should love me. So one day that one person, he could not shut his door. And before he shuts his door, Raja was passing by. Then Raja caught hold of that person. He said, why are you afraid of me? Why don't you love me? This is how he is asking. Love cannot be forced. Similarly, Shraddha cannot be forced. Shraddha happens. Like love happens to the person. Similarly, Shraddha happens. Yes, we can create some conducive atmosphere for Shraddha to emerge. Like we remain in the company of people who have Shraddha. See, if you remain in the company of atheists, then sometimes, your shaken Shraddha will be broken. Therefore, company of right people is important. So, all those things you can do it. But finally, it has to happen to you. And for that, what you do? You do prayers. You remove or avoid that type of atmosphere which is invoking ashraddha in you. You can do that. You can remain in the company of people who have shraddha. Maybe some qualities get rubbed off on you, possible. You see some people, so shraddha, by God. They are embodiment of shraddha. So that may inspire us. But finally it has to happen to you. And it is very important thing, it looks little very insignificant, but I have seen it makes so much difference in the pursuit. If Shraddha is not there, then the whole pursuit it appears to be invalid. The whole pursuit is shaken, And therefore, proper relationship with Shastra and Guru becomes important. That's why I tell people that if you have this troubled relationship with Guru, then whatever you have studied from the Guru will not remain valid for you. Because the notes what you have written, this is what that Guru was telling. So it will not make sense to you, or it will not appeal to your heart. Therefore, proper relationship with the teacher, proper relationship with Shastra is so much highlighted. Shraddha, okay. Then the next one is Mumukshutvam. We'll see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.